match is now officially a Judy Bagwell on a forklift match.
I can see my fantasy, I'm so consumed in bed. What I see takes over me, I'm blind beyond repair.
Not only did I come tonight, but so did Veer.
Came so fucking hard, came right over the Mysterios. It was graphic, somewhat disturbing, and a little erotic.
Welcome on a Forklift, your post-WrestleMania edition of On a Forklift.
Which means it was good, because we said we weren't going to be here if it was shit.
We did.
Yeah. Well, I'll just get this out of the way. We are coming live from our apartment/houses. We are on a Forklift Pod on Twitter. You can find me at PK Batman. You can find Ethan at Jensen Collins 3, and you can find Russ on Joy on Broad. What a fucking weekend for wrestling, not just for WWE having two really good nights of WrestleMania in a row, but Ring of Honor had a good show. GCW put on some good shows. Watched a lot of wrestling over the past few days. There was a lot.
Yes, there was. Impact had a decent showing as well. It generally is just a good weekend for wrestling in general, which is what generally means. Anyway, but what we're here to talk about is, as we stated before, we were not intending to speak about WrestleMania, but man, did WrestleMania Night 1 knock it out of the park, and WrestleMania 2 was not a bad follow-up. I'd say a solid follow-up.
I think we're all in agreement that Night 1 was better.
Which is very weird, because we, as we had stated before, thought Night 1 was going to be the weak part and Night 2 was going to be the highlight of the show. And we were proven wrong, pleasantly.
Pleasantly. There wasn't really a scrap of fat on Night 1, unless you count Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre. Russ, what are you doing, my friend?
Nah, you know what? Even Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre wasn't that bad of a match. My issue with Night 1 would have been Rousey and Charlotte.
That was the worst match of the night. Next to the tag match.
Guys, you're burying the lead. All right, you're burying the lead. And
we were gonna get there. We had to let it get there.
I don't want to hijack things, but I'll tell you what's doing. You know, there I was on Saturday night, and for the first time since 1800, I found myself cruising to a place that gave me so much Southern comfort. It made me feel like I was in Malibu. I know that doesn't make sense, but go with me. And then I was knocked on my rumple mints when it became ever clear that the man himself was going to come out of his high castle and entertain the masses. Cody Rhodes, God damn it, welcome back. 6 years away, the prodigal son is back. You know what, guys? I have shot glasses somewhere around here, but I hope you won't control it against me. At this point,
I'm gonna have a fucking stroke.
At this point, we got to talk about the fireball himself, Cody Rhodes.
Dear God, Bianca. So
that's where I'm. So I need you guys to just give me a triple sec while I find a shot glass. And if you're so interested, maybe you could talk about the four queens who took to the stage over 2 nights of WrestleMania. But here we are. I was actually pretty proud. I just winged that. That was good.
That was impressive,
pretty good.
It was.
It's pretty good.
Man.
That's why you guys pay me the big bucks to be here. That is
absolutely.
Why?
You're worth every
I don't
penny.
know. I don't know if I'm more impressed or if we should have an intervention at this point. Were we getting invited over for drinks, or
I don't really drink, but I have a nice stocked bar just in case anybody comes over. And anyway, is it okay if I say that I've gotten exactly what my heart and soul needed from WrestleMania?
Say whatever you want. We'll pay you to come on here and say shit.
So, guys, Cody Rhodes is where he belongs. He is. And
he is.
I said it to you months ago. I will continue to say it because I love being right. But Cody Rhodes is exactly where he belongs, right?
Yes.
He did not fit with AEW, or at least where AEW was going. He did not fit. The style of match did not fit. The promo did not fit. And we could sit here and I could tell you that he was a coward and that he was an absolute wimp and that he couldn't stand up to the boos and that all he really did was effectively chase a hug. And he left the company that he helped to build because he couldn't stand being booed anymore. And so he ran off to WWE to make a lot of money and to get cheered. And you know what? So far, so good. And if rumors are to be believed that Roman is hurt and is going to give up the titles on Raw, which we haven't seen yet, if that happens, Cody Rhodes has about as clear of a path to holding at least one of those belts as he's ever going to have. And it looks like they're pushing him to the moon. So you know what? Here's the clear distinction. Cody Rhodes, the human being who helped found AEW, which brought me back to wrestling. I like Cody Rhodes, the person. Congratulations. Cody Rhodes, the wrestler, disappoints me because there was a lot of meat left on the bone with AEW with a delusional heel turn that we will never get. But you know what? He's back where he belongs, and it seems like it's, a match made in purgatory. So that's good.
My only beef so far with it is you got to drop the theme song now. The theme song just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. He made his own kingdom and then he ran from it.
Listen,
was he Oliver Cromwell waiting to get beheaded?
Listen, I'm not saying that people who watch or listen to the show aren't at that level, but I think you just took wrestling fans and you gave maybe a little bit too much credit with that reference, but it's okay.
I'm aware. But seriously, that's the only beef about it. It's a completely different guy. The guy that was in that ladder match with Sami for the TNT title is not the same dude that's on the television right now. It's the same person. It's the same person, but it's not the same person.
This isn't Paul McCartney. You're not saying that Cody actually died and they've replaced him with a bottle double.
I'm not.
Body double
I'm not.
But
the little thing by his eye has gone away a decent amount. Not the one up here, but the down here, the iron deficiency thing, that's gone away a decent amount. Or they cake that makeup on pretty well. Side note,
Buddy, we're talking about Cody. You saw that when there's this thing on the neck. I don't know who's looking at the eyes.
Because this has been around forever. So side note on the talking about Cody thing. So we pointed this out while we were sitting there watching. He looked like he got beat the fuck up during that match. And it's all the ropes. So this is just one of those stupid things. AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact, they all use steel cables as ropes. And they're covered with either a garden hose or some kind of sheathing. WWE is one of the few promotions that still uses legitimate ropes. That's why he got fucked up like that. Because ropes are way harder to run on than steel cables.
At least he's got those fire scars on his back from that time he beat Andrade.
The time that he put Andrade through the table. Sorry about that. Anyway, Trevor, what's your opinions on WrestleMania? Because you decided to bail on us and not show up at my house.
Ooh.
Working.
Working. Likely story. This is your job. We don't pay you to be our tech intern for nothing.
We don't pay him at all.
I know. That's why I said we don't pay you.
Then see here. No, I was just stunned.
We're in an NXT championship match on Raw?
Yeah, they're doing the NXT championship on Raw.
Sorry.
Hey, everyone. We will have the latest updates on Monday Night Raw as we're watching and discussing WrestleMania, because we are watching the Raw after Mania right now.
Monday Night Rollins.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Monday Night Rhodes.
Monday Night freaking Rollins. The roads to Monday Night Raw. Lynn's.
Well, this is the Rhodes home episode. So let's talk about the pay-per-view. Night 1, we all agree, was better than Night 2. I think Night 1 definitely had the match of the weekend, which was Bianca and Becky. I thought those two tore the house down.
Kind of just saw the aftermath with her having a black eye.
Yeah, she got fucked up with that Molly go kick to the face. What, Russ? What was your match? Was it Cody and Rollins?
I don't want to. I'm not here to argue this week. I am being a good.
I'm being
a good boy.
Because there's not really a wrong answer to have for your favorite match of the weekend. There are tons to choose from.
I went back twice, and I honestly had to check myself. I tweeted something and I deleted it, which I don't usually do. I went back to the Cody match a second time, and that's the match of the weekend, without a doubt.
Do you want to know the match I've gone back and watched the most this past weekend?
The New
Knoxville
Day
and Sami Zayn. Knoxville
Really?
and Sami Zayn was so much fun. That was so dumb and so much. That's probably going to be the match out of the weekend I revisit the most.
That was like a Chikara hardcore match.
Yeah.
That's all that was. That was just stupid fun. There was no expectation for that match, which meant that anything it did was perfect.
I thought everything about it was fun. Like, it didn't take itself too seriously. Sami Zayn was the perfect person for that match to have with Knoxville.
Only guy that could have done it.
And I remember seeing someone, it was Metzler, post on Twitter. He was just like, this match is horrid, but it picked up and the crowd seemed to be into it. And someone just commented underneath it. He was like, Dave, what were you expecting from a match starring Johnny Knoxville? Were you expecting a 5-star classic? No, those two went in there and they had fun. Don't even give it a rating. It's just a fun watch. It's not a wrestling match.
A giant mousetrap.
A giant hand.
Yeah.
A giant
Mae
hand.
Young and Mark Henry's hand made an appearance for the first time in like 10 years.
You had to.
Yeah, you had to.
You couldn't help yourself.
The only thing that match was missing was Big Dick Johnson to jump out of a fucking cake covered in baby oil. That's it. That's all that was missing.
But I think I know you can pick whatever match you want for the worst as well. Like for me, the worst match of the weekend was Charlotte Rousey.
Oh. Yeah.
For being the main event of night one, for it to end in the way it did. Like, they were having a fine match. I had no issues with it. That finish stunk the fucking place up. Thank God Kevin Owens and Steve Austin came out and saved it.
I'm on a
problem
toss-up for the worst.
Can we just have that conversation about like why the Ronda Rousey experiment was always destined to fail, and how they had a chance to reboot it and they might have made it worse? Like, is that a fair conversation to have?
She shouldn't be talking. She
that's
needs a mouthpiece.
What do you think of when you think of Ronda Rousey? Like,
just tough badass.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
She's a badass, right? If she comes out in black, right, like she did at the Rumble, right? She comes out, she should look the part of the badass. She should look like the chick you don't want to run into in the alley. No matter if you're the biggest guy or the toughest woman in the bar, you don't want to run into her. She's going to rip you apart, right? The thing that they have failed at each and every iteration of whatever character she's supposed to be playing is, it never matches. I never want to see Ronda Rousey smile, ever.
No.
Why would I want to see that? I want the person who's going to come in and tear the throat out, which is why, if we're going to talk about somebody who needs to have their music changed, it's Ronda Rousey. That doesn't match. That matches like a more bubbly, kind of on the fringe. That would make more sense if it were
like an AJ
Rhea
Lee.
Ripley. No, a Rhea Ripley that they're trying to make into like this uber baby face where she comes out and you're still afraid of her, but like you're trying to tweak the character. It doesn't match Ronda Rousey at all.
Speaking of women, I'd love to meet in a dark alley and have beat the shit out of me. That's one of them.
Rhea Ripley?
Yeah. Just go ahead. Just hurt me.
I'm not
hurt
surprised.
That's outfits of the weekend was definitely Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Not even a question. I'll let the pervert me come out right there. That was
that's look the whole house. Just look. Normally we don't sim for a lot, but the whole house got horny. The whole house. I got hardwood floors. They got harder.
Yeah.
Not his last.
I wasn't there. I'm glad I wasn't there. I might never come back on the show after this. This is not WrestleMania based, but since we're kind of reacting in real time here, and this is why people are supposed to tune in to On a Forklift while it's live and streaming live, is for the live reaction. Can we talk about the fact for a second that WWE has done more to put over NXT since Vince took it over, and it is less of a legitimate show than they ever did with the Black and Gold brand, which arguably should have been treated as more of a legitimate show?
I don't know what you're talking about. Black and Gold won Survivor Series one year.
Yeah, and then it died. And then none of it, like there was little to no crossover attempt.
Yeah, which
you have
I
Dolph
agree
Ziggler
with.
who's gone, huh?
I agree with that. They should have done more, but they've never tried to push it. It's just that Vince never saw vanilla midget Adam Cole as a world champion, so he wasn't interested in putting them in the spotlight to where you have Dolph Ziggler right here, who is a veteran, who is someone Vince likes. And
who is the shit.
who is the shit right now. I fucking
I love
loved
Dolph Ziggler.
his match with Braun Breaker on fucking Saturday was great. That whole
Look at him. Look at him right now. Look at him and Bobby Roode.
Honestly,
or Robert Roode, or whatever the hell they're calling him now. Like,
Ziggler looks the best he's ever been.
Yes.
Even better than 2011 or 2012 or whatever it was.
And Braun looks like a fucking star. So I mean, this is great.
This looks like it should be happening on Dynamite. The aesthetic of this looks like it should be happening on Dynamite. This is Wardlow against, I don't know who you put in the Dolph Ziggler spot, but like this doesn't look like it belongs. Or this belongs in like closer to the Attitude Era. Maybe it's all the black they're wearing right now.
You know what? No, it's exactly that. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
This is going to be a squash match.
No, it's not. It's for the NXT title.
Um,
They're gonna have a repeat of their match from Saturday.
You're right though. In regards to it, but I think here's the difference. If Black and Gold failed, it was on Hunter. If this fails, it's on Vince.
Yep.
In his perception, maybe not. Maybe it doesn't matter to anybody else, but in his perception, it's on him if this fails.
Yeah.
Kind of like the ECW. I think that's why he was so reluctant to push it, was because of how bad rebooted ECW did. And I feel like he just saw NXT, because if we really look back, there's not that much time between ECW and NXT originally. Even though I know it was a web series, there's just, dude, the overlap is just, it's almost non-existent. Like,
there are people who believe that like Vince tried to kill ECW intentionally, and there might be a little bit of truth to it, but like he definitely tried to bury WCW, right? Like that whole thing, the whole invasion angle, and like once they brought in like a Sting and they buried him kind of thing. Like the ECW thing was more interesting because Vince was effectively running or funding the payroll of ECW for a time before acquisition. So like, I don't know. And the number of pay-per-views they ran and everything, like, I don't think the goal from the onset was to kill that brand. I think it just became clear that in the PG era that they were going into, that ECW couldn't exist in the way that people wanted it to.
Right. No, I'm
WWE
talking
umbrella.
the WWE, the WWE ECW, the rebranded black and silver on Sci-Fi. That ECW is the one that failed, not the the original Extreme Championship Wrestling, East Coast Wrestling, whatever you want to call it. That was destined to fail from the beginning because of the product. The product was a product of its time, and it had a shelf life immediately. There's no way you can continue to do that. You can't put that show on today. Look at GCW. Even GCW has to have legitimate matches to be able to get the visibility, because you can't show that match to everybody.
Yep.
So,
all right, sorry, I hijacked this thing.
No, you're fine.
But WrestleMania.
Yeah, night one, we kicked off with the Usos versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. Unfortunately, Rick Boogs suffered a torn quad in this match. Is probably going to be out for 6 to 12 months. It definitely sent home the finish real quick, which led to the Usos hitting the double splash onto Nakamura and pinning him for the 1-2-3. An unfortunate way to kick off WrestleMania.
But the show sure as hell rebounded.
Yeah, but they decided to knock the shit out of the way real quick because they went right into Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin. Drew McIntyre is the first person ever to kick out of the End of Days. 6 years that finisher went. It finished every match. If it was used, it was over for 6 years.
A legitimate person to kick out of it, though.
Yes, very legitimate. The longest move to not be kicked out of in WWE before that, the Razor's Edge, did not get kicked out of for 4 years.
Glad they paid homage to Scott Hall with that instead of a ladder match for the Intercontinental title that nobody knew about because it wasn't featured on WrestleMania weekend. That was swell.
No, McIntyre kicked out of that. He hit the Claymore for the win, and then he cut the top 2 ropes with his sword. Let's go on to the surprise of the night to me. Yeah, because those were 2 matches we were just going to skip over because, my God, Logan Paul.
Wow. This is one we need to talk about.
He did phenomenal. And I hate admitting that. But if he has the perfect attitude for a professional wrestler. He has the presentation. He has the cockiness. He knows that he can be the best at this, which is great. Logan Paul needs to stop boxing and start transitioning into professional wrestling right away.
They can't pay him enough.
Kid's got all the money in the world. He says he wants to be a wrestler. He can do this for fun. He can still go box.
This is one of those rare times, and I mean, I don't mind being wrong. I don't mind it at all. This is one of those rare times that I was really, really wrong because I thought this was going to come in and be an unmitigated disaster. Now, there's a caveat to this. The people that they stuck him with, Rey Mysterio, The Miz, could pull a good match out of a fucking brick, a literal brick. Mind you, if we look back at Miz's track record, he had Bad Bunny as well. Pulled a really good match out of him. Now, we know that Bad Bunny actually put forth all of the effort to do this. Seems, though, that Logan Paul did the same thing. Having watched just based upon technique, this dude was fluid. He was very calculated, very articulate in his moves, and he just has natural hatred on his side. That man is a heat magnet, and it was just beautiful. For you to go out there, do the Three Amigos, and then the shimmy, just the slime ball shimmy. It was fantastic. And I'm glad if you're going to use celebrity spots in this, which we'll get to later because I don't think Pat counts as a celebrity spot anymore.
No, that's his third match. Celebrity spots are out the window, Dan.
If you're going to do that for a celebrity spot, this was a perfect one to do it in. And there's a little underlying subtone here with Ray and Dom's outfits that I think is going to play into some future booking. So I don't want to get into that right yet, but
that Dominic was wearing the gear that paid homage to his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and the mullet.
The attires for WrestleMania night 1, at least, were all fucking on point.
Hey, Trev, can you grow a mullet? Please. Swear
Trevor,
to
what do you got to say? You were going to say
it.
something.
I was going to say, following Logan Paul on Twitter, he did not condition for WrestleMania until 3 days before the event.
I don't believe that.
First of all, I would never admit to following Logan Paul on Twitter.
I didn't follow him. I said...
Show us your follow list right now. All of them. No, don't.
Well, let me first clarify.
Riley Reid,
respected
Lana Rhodes. Lana Perry.
These are respected anime companies.
Oh yeah, I can read that. Yeah, I can read it. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look who's at top.
Unbox therapy.
Oh, and then on a forklift.
Oh yeah, thank you for following us on Twitter. It's your fucking job.
You guys have to pay him more. I don't know what you're doing here. He's got to get the sweetheart deal.
What part of intern do y'all motherfuckers not understand?
I pay them. All those look right behind Clint on that shelf. All those, and then there's pop figures on the way.
Excuse me, those were from Santa Claus.
Who do you think Santa Claus was?
That's not you paid me. That's you buying me a present for Christmas.
I need the video of Trevor doing this, but hit to the boom of Adam Cole.
Boom.
You know what? It is plausible that Trevor is Santa Claus because what we saw on Monday Night Raw is that Elias doesn't have a beard anymore. I'm sorry, his little brother Ezekiel. What the hell?
Shit.
Guys, that segment I've been told is sponsored by Manscaped. So very exciting. Don't forget to use promo code Forklift6000 on manscaped.com to get 6,000% off of your Manscaped order. If the code doesn't work, get in touch with Clint over on Twitter.
So I will tell you to politely fuck off.
Unfortunately, there's no Noxzema or Clearasil sponsorship on that either, but man's got to work on the skin now after the beard. If us bearded fellows use this to cover up some defects we have, at least I do. I'm sure Russ has got an absolutely beautiful face under that.
We can talk about
I had a stress pimple over here last week, and it was my lone blemish. Other than this, but it was very upsetting, traumatizing even.
That's because you're forced to follow the Flyers. Speaking of which, sports betting thing, while we're sitting here really quick, just going to get this out of the way. So the Arkansas Derby was on, and my wife bet $1 on a horse, won $58 on a race she had no idea knowing what she's doing.
That's awesome.
She bets on horses all the time, but that's just one of those things. She's like,
Trevor, you want to
I won.
Yeah, let's go.
Whoa.
All right, later.
She played the ponies. And welcome in to On a Forklift, the sports edition. We are here to talk to you about all things sports and sports betting, of course. Ethan, very exciting. Playing the ponies, as
Ponies,
it were.
Yes, she is a huge pony.
Yeah, I heard Horse with Pants on Fire was a lock to win, but it went to what was the name of the horse? Green Bridges, I believe, was the name of the horse.
Probably something like that. That sounds like that. All I know is that they were trying to get a filly into the Kentucky Derby, and that was the big point of the Arkansas Derby.
Ron
But
Breaker's
speaking of-
NXT champion.
But not the kind of filly that I would root for. Is what you're saying. Not that kind of filly.
Yeah,
This is not a Nick Castellanos.
No, or a Adrian.
All right. God.
By
damn it.
God, good God Almighty, Braun Breaker is your new NXT champion. By
Yep.
God.
Spoiler alert.
Remember what I said about how much I hate 4-man booths? Anywhoozle.
Steiner. I'm good.
Oh.
So the finish of the match came when fucking Miz yeeted fucking Rey Mysterio onto Dom and then hit a skull crushing finale on Dom for the win. Oh, excuse me, onto Rey for the win. And then he hit one on Logan Paul for good measure.
Yep, which had the complete opposite reaction that WWE thought it was going to have, in my opinion. I feel like they thought that was going to get some face love for Logan Paul, and it did not. It has turned Miz into the face of this feud. And yet again, proving my point of this man is a natural heat magnet and therefore could be one of your top heels. But as Russ said, you either can't pay him enough or he's just going to have to accept the fact that he's not going to get paid that much if this is what he truly wants to do.
If you put him on Raw, you could really fix those ratings, right? Like,
I think you could.
You could almost make the case now that Raw's almost watchable, which if you had said that 6 months ago would have seemed inconceivable. But like, okay, let's play that game. He's got half the followers on Twitter that the entire WWE has. The WWE that's available in how many countries, that has made how many deals for distribution rights in other countries, who has made a deal in blood money. That company has 12 million followers, and Paul has 6.3 million, I think. So like, I don't know whether you love him or you love to hate him. If he shows up even periodically on Monday Night Raw, that's the show to send him to, right? Because I don't think you're going to be able to get SmackDown into the 3.5, 4 million viewer range, but you could get Raw to a point where Raw is hitting close to or at 2 million, and all of a sudden it looks like you've kind of fixed some issues. You could do that for the next few months until Monday Night Football starts back up. You can kind of ride into the fall on a bit of a hot streak if you're the WWE.
And that's new viewers too, because the crossover is minimal on the people that actually watch it. Because you can hear from a crowd response that it's minimal.
Which is why I would argue, I know what you guys are saying about how Pat McAfee doesn't count as a celebrity appearance anymore, but I would make the argument that especially with WrestleMania, where you're going to get a lot of casual fans anyway, or people who aren't otherwise fans, who just go, all right, what's on right now? And then it's like WrestleMania, okay, I know what that is. And Pat McAfee's got such a massive social media following, obviously a massive following for his show that he does every day, that like there's a good chance that people who aren't wrestling fans are going to tune in for Pat McAfee, that aren't going to tune in to watch SmackDown just to listen to him, but would certainly tune in to watch him, to watch him wrestle. So I feel like he's in a weird spot. He kind of is a celebrity, and at the same time, he's also part of your programming.
I didn't consider it a celebrity spot purely based on him being present every single week as part of the broadcast team. And that's the only reason that from an outside viewership standpoint and what he can bring to the table, he would be considered a celebrity. But I just don't see it. It's not like a Mike Tyson type thing. It's not like a Stephen Amell type thing anymore, where he's there for that program and then he's gone. You're going to see him next week or this week.
Yeah, that's fair. Clint looks like we were just talking about the ponies.
Speaking of which, dead air, Clinton, dead air.
Next was Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. What are you guys going to transition this into talking about?
I think we need that special
Steaks that she could put on her face to keep the swelling down.
Jesus
that are
Christ,
definitely made out of the losing horses from the Arkansas Derby. Clint, Trevor, you tell us your thoughts on the Bianca Belair.
Shut the fuck up!
I know Clint is very heavy on this match. It was his favorite match of the weekend, and I'd like to hear some more about it.
Oh, well, my favorite WrestleMania match of the weekend. My favorite match of the weekend we'll talk about later after we get through Mania. But Bianca Belair defeated Becky Lynch, in my opinion, the best women's match in WrestleMania history. It's not even close. Maybe even the best women's match in WWE history.
I just
Maybe recency bias here, but those two women fucking killed it. The entrances felt big time. The match felt big time. It felt way bigger than Charlotte and Rousey ever could.
I just wonder how Belair can have all that hair and not have any neck problems.
It's a clip in.
It's a clip in.
Still, it's like
It's not that heavy, honestly.
okay.
Yeah. But these two went at it for 20 fucking minutes. That full 20 minutes, it did not let up. It was spot after spot. The crowd was consistently into the match. It led to a phenomenal spot where Becky went for the manhandle slam. Bianca bounced off the second rope, moonsaulted out of it, got her in the KOD for the win. Black eye and all, which she got from a Molly go-around that just clipped her right in the face. And I can't gush enough about this match. This match is what women's wrestling is all about. Far and away the best match of the night.
Do you know what bothers me? You know how there were like a lot of people after that match who said, because that WWE can't tell long-term stories. This is a long-term story. You just had to be patient. No. I don't think that's what this was. I don't think that you can just make the case that because two people have been in the ring together, that like just because it culminates in a good match, that it was a good story. It was not a good story. The squash of Bianca Belair could have been potentially catastrophic to her career. And I think we talked about it when it happened.
We did.
The fact that they were able to kind of rectify that and not bury her fully along the way is a testament to her ability to get over and her ability to just continually scratch and claw her way back to the top. And like that to me is not a storyline. That's she just has immediate mega star power and they couldn't fuck it up. They just couldn't, even if they wanted to try, because she's that good, which is why so many people are into what Bianca Belair is and can be. That's why she has the ability to kind of go next level. Like it is very cool to see her, potentially getting into a place where you start to mention her, or if you already haven't, to mention her with the likes of, Becky and Charlotte and Sasha, right? I think that's pretty cool. She very clearly could be in that upper echelon. You can look back on it. She is more physically impressive, more gifted than arguably anyone else in that division. And I don't even know how far back you would have to go to say that there was anybody close. Like Charlotte's really a tall competitor. And so a lot of what she does is a lot harder than it looks. But like, I don't know if there's ever been a female wrestler who's as physically gifted and has been able to put on display what she's able to do like Bianca is. There have been women in the past who have not been able to put on those kind of matches. They physically would have been, but it's not what the company wanted at the time. Like Jacqueline kind of,
and
China
and Jacqueline are the only two that I can think of.
Yeah. One from ECW, name escapes me. It'll come back to me. But there were a few, but they weren't really given that opportunity. And China was pretty much told to fight like a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Jacqueline, I think, like if she's born 10 years later, then we're having a very different conversation, But Bianca's amazing.
Bobby Lashley's missing a tooth. Said Bobby Lashley's missing a tooth.
Yeah, look at that. Anyway, I think flat out. I think you're right. That is. I guess, man. Yeah, that makes a good point. That's one of those people they try to kill. So I guess the argument or the complaint about WWE not creating superstars, I guess Bianca's going to be one of those ones that creates themselves. And honestly, more recently, it's happened more with the women being able to create themselves as superstars than it is with the men. I don't know if that's just a charisma thing or what it is, but Becky was able to do it. And creating her man character is regardless of your feelings on it, for a while there, she was the hottest thing that WWE had. And now you have Bianca kind of in assuming the same role. So it's good to see. It's really good to see, actually, for a company that's consistently always had a criticism of not supporting their women and not supporting the women's division. It's nice to see that.
That's why it's easier, though.
But now I need Bailey to come back, and I need the true feud between her and that. Or I need a good one between Bianca and Asuka.
I send Asuka to SmackDown. Someone needs to get that belt off Charlotte. It needs to be Asuka.
Could be
How
good.
about we just combine the women's belt and then the champion wrestles on both shows?
Because
That
I don't
makes
want to
sense.
see Charlotte and Becky hot potato that belt.
No, I want Bianca to have that belt, and I want to see Charlotte go away for 3 to 4 months.
Ethan, it is interesting though. Like your point about the women being able to get over more as stars recently is very on point. But I think it's because there's not the same frame of reference for women's wrestlers as there is for men, right? Like the easy argument to make anytime you're talking about like what guy is getting over right now, you're immediately going to think of Austin and The Rock, right? You to some extent might think of like The Undertaker, Mankind, depending on who you were. Why is Clint? But there's not
Because
that
they're
for women,
continuing
right?
the almost Bobby Lashley thing.
Oh,
The WWE title is now referred to as the Unified WWE Universal Championship. It is the Uwu Championship. They are appealing to the furry market now. With the Uwu
I don't know
Championship.
what that is, but okay. But like compared to like female wrestlers in the past, there isn't that kind of frame of reference to be.
Oh,
able to have this
MVP's turning
opportunity.
on Bobby
Yeah.
Lashley.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Oh no.
He's aligning himself with Almost. You heard it here
I'm on
first.
the YouTube TV delay. Oh no. Oh no.
Well, they got to kill
Now.
off the remaining of the Hurt Business. Their best
Yeah.
fucking thing.
No,
What if the
right.
Hurt Business joins with Omos?
It's
Sorry,
not
Omos.
as good as Bobby.
Isn't it though?
Can Bobby and Kevin become a team now? Because there's a budding bromance there. Especially
They go to like a McDonald's and fucking Kevin's like, yeah, bro, get whatever you want. He was like, I'm not going to eat anything from here.
That's one of my favorite photo shoots of all time is the one of Kevin Owens just like hunkering behind Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, it was like when you
I
talk
brought my brother to fight my fights for me.
What if Bobby joins with RK Bro? RK Broby. They go after the trios titles. I'll see myself out. The ones that Tony Khan is going to bring to WWE. Hashtag Forbidden Door.
God.
What's Trevor doing?
His best.
He's waiting and reporting on anything that he finds. He's our monitor guy. He's in gorilla position right now.
I've never seen a gorilla sit like that, but
Because I'm leaning back.
Y'all know me like that.
Oh my God.
So then we go into what I think is Russ's favorite match of the weekend. We have Cody versus Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins coming out in whatever Becky forgot to wear tonight. He looked great, and people kept pointing out leading up to this match, he was wearing AEW colors for every match. This one being the Dynamite Purple.
Who?
Seth.
We sure that we're not reading too far into that?
Nah, yeah, we're definitely reading too far into it. It's just probably a coincidence.
Dynamite like legitimately has rainbows. Like rainbow splashy paint.
Yeah,
colors.
but they've got their dedicated colors, like the black and
guess.
the purple and shit like that.
Yeah. There's one thing to say about this match. The Cody intro took a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It was frustrating. It was annoying. You wanted Cody to finally like do something, which is how you could pretty much define most of his tenure with AEW. And I thought the match started off really slow and annoying, the way that a lot of Cody matches in AEW started. But 5 minutes into that match, if it wasn't one of the best matches I've ever seen Cody wrestle, if it's not one of the best matches that I've seen Seth have in quite a while, I would run that back. And again, it all depends on what happens here with Roman. But like, if we're to believe that like Brock is gone for a while and Roman might have to relinquish the belts, that's a fine storyline for the top of your card. I mean, you can mix in like a Bobby Lashley, but it looks like he's going to be wasting his time with Omos again, so whatever. But if you want to build this around Seth and Cody Rhodes going for the unified title, I can get behind that. Here'd be a really fun thing. They would never do it because of the promo that he cut in the beginning. But can you imagine if Vince just came out and said, you guys are good. You guys each get a belt. And Cody doesn't even get to have like the story of how he won the belt. It was just handed to him by Vince McMahon. Oh,
that would be some fuckery.
I would love that. Can you imagine? Like Cody doesn't get that magical moment where he makes Dusty proud. He just has the belt handed to him. Oh, it won't happen.
What a dig from Vince that would be. Like you'd be everybody from an outside perspective, you'd be looking at it going, oh my God, look at that. Cody just got the belt. Like, hell yeah. And Cody's just seething because he's been given the belt.
He vacates it immediately, says his reign doesn't count.
Says
Wants
that
to earn it.
He will
Jobs
never
out to
again
Seth
challenge
Rollins.
for the world title.
Vince says you either take this belt or you never get the opportunity to challenge for it.
Oh,
Until Chris Jericho comes back. Did you guys see the quote, the Cody quote after WrestleMania? It was one of the interviews after. He said something to the effect of, being an executive was fun, but it's not what you dream of as a kid. Right?
Yeah.
But then there's all the clips of him saying how he wanted to retire as an EVP of the company. It's just strange.
I think it's just there was such a dynamic shift there. I think Tony really did end up rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. Did they just leave us? They're leaving us.
I have no idea. Maybe.
Perfect. We can talk about sports betting again.
We're talking about wrestling here. I don't know.
No. So part of the issue I think there is that Tony's starting to rub a lot of people the wrong way. And I think the only way that this is going to get rectified is him actually having to trust a group of people to run our Ring of Honor. Because there's no way he can do both of them. Clearly, the man's on cocaine. We could see by the Ring of Honor video from the weekend that he is just absolutely... He looks like Radigan from fucking The Great Mouse Detective or whatever the fuck that movie was. The Rescuers. I don't even remember. He's just coked out.
I don't know if it's coke. He might just have ADHD.
Bro, he's got something going on.
He's hopping up on rock stars and amps.
Yeah. He's got something going on. But he definitely... That's his biggest fault right now is that he needs a team that he trusts to run those shows. And this is one of the few times where I think Vince is sitting back and laughing at watching him make mistakes that as much shit as we can give Vince for things that he does, he might not always trust the same people for a long period of time, but he definitely knows that he has to have some kind of group to basically set everything up and then he gives the final approval for it.
Clint, if you go macro here for a second, like losing Cody if you're AEW versus like what AEW kind of replaced Cody with, like say that's Samoa Joe and a few of the other guys that came in, it almost feels like bringing in Samoa Joe, Regal, a few of these other guys in different roles is more valuable to AEW than what Cody could have provided AEW.
Absolutely.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not even a question. Well, trading William Regal alone for Cody would have been worth it.
Because Cody, I think, is going to do more for WWE than he could have done for AEW. Like it actually, in a weird way,
focus on being a wrestler again.
Yeah, it's a good trade. It's almost like you almost wish that you could have trades in wrestling, right? Mm-hmm. Like there was that thing on Twitter about like, imagine if you could trade Brian Cage for Mustafa Ali. Think about how much better those guys could be fit wise on the different brands. But like this kind of, I don't know, it's almost kind of nice.
No, I'm excited for Cody in WWE. He's exactly where he belongs. I think he's gonna do wonders there.
Yeah. There's a
worst case scenario, he's just a really long Intercontinental champion.
I fucking hope not. I don't, as much shit as we talk, I really do hope he goes there and succeeds. I hope he succeeds in WWE.
No, don't get me wrong. Like, hold on. I've never had a problem with Cody the wrestler. I have a problem with Cody the character. Cody the character didn't fit in AEW. He fits in WWE. Therefore, I'm most likely going to like Cody in WWE being the exact same character he was in AEW. It's just that he didn't fit the mold of AEW anymore.
He might not have, and looking back on it, he might have been right to not turn. I think it could have been really good if he had bought into it. But the only way that it kind of made sense, or that it would have made the most logical sense for him to do it, would have been for him to almost like play the Triple H role and to become like the authority character who's corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been lame. Like, we've seen that play out so many times. That's why I said, like, the delusional, like, thinking the people love him, but they actually hate him, that could have been a really complex, cool character. We don't really get to see that much. But the authority character who, like, goes back on his word, I don't know. Like, it could have been okay for AEW, but I don't know if it would have lasted very long. So kind of works out. Let's be happy for the guy.
I am happy for the guy.
So here's something that I think was great early on in AEW, but the longer it goes on, the more damaging it is. So wrestling is all about suspension of disbelief. We know too much about the structure of AEW. AEW has publicized us knowing who's behind the scenes, who's pulling the strings, who's running the show. So because we know the Young Bucks are EVPs, Cody was an EVP, Kenny's an EVP, we know who has influence and who doesn't have influence. You've got Amanda Huber, Brody Lee, rest in peace. His wife is working with stuff, whether she's in the branding position. It doesn't matter. We know so much about the structure of that company that it's almost damaging to the on-screen product, because it's hard for us to separate what we know about these people in real life as opposed to the characters that they play on screen. So you look at it and you go, okay, well, Kenny and the Young Bucks are just looking out for themselves, and then Cody's just looking out for themselves. And he did one thing very early on that made you go, okay, he's not about himself, and that's saying I'm never going to challenge for the title. But then he becomes 3-time TNT champion. And you go, okay, it kind of looks like that's gross. Get that off my TV. Oh, Jesus Christ. They open their mouth.
Stay on topic.
So they gave us too much information, and it kind of ruined the aura of what Cody Rhodes was supposed to be. And I think he fought for a long time to try to yeah, exactly. I think he fought for a long time to try to fix that, and he never did. And then when Tony really was just like, I'm taking everything over, Cody had no booking power, stuff like that. He wasn't like, he basically looked at Cody and went, you're not going to be Dad. You're not going to be Dusty. You're not going to be that guy. I understand that this is your company, but it's not your company. It's my company. I make the rules. I make the decisions. It is what it is. Tony really power tripped in that, and I don't know if it was a good thing for him, but it's definitely a good thing for Cody, and I think it's a good thing for AEW on the whole now. So, like you said, this is one of those weird trades that went like the Philly Saints trade today. I think that's a winner for both sides, and this is a winner for both sides.
Yeah. I'm not going to talk about sports, though. I don't want Clint to...
No, I know. I just didn't... That's
again.
The first thing that came to mind is a scenario where both people win.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often.
No.
It doesn't. It is nice to see. Potentially. If it all goes right.
I think if we revisit this conversation in 3 months and really see where we're at, I think it's going to be positive for both sides of it. I think the Blackpool Combat Club is going to be one of the better uses of talent on the AEW side. And I think Cody Rhodes, with now, like we were saying, the potential Roman Reigns injury, is going to delve into becoming, if he's WWE champion that quick, sure, it's going to pull the trigger on something that I don't think they meant to do this quickly. Yep. But it's going to be good for his character, and it's going to be good for the company on a whole, personally.
The only issue with Cody, honestly, is he had the quote where he said about being a world champion. And I wonder whose idea was it to have him be booked out of the world title picture in AEW so early? Was that a thing where he was looking to deflect heat off of himself so that the thing that we knew about him being an EVP felt like the suspension of disbelief? You go, all right, well, I mean, he can't go for the title. At least we know he's out of there. Like, if the Bucks had said, we're not going to go after the tag team titles, I don't know what that would have looked like. But, like, was that his decision or not? Because if it was, then it's kind of tone deaf to say, well, you always want to go for the world title. Well, then don't book yourself out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know.
We didn't know of the TNT title when that happened. I mean, we knew there was going to be a secondary title, but we didn't know of it. And so I think the reason that happened is because he was meant to be the guy to establish the credibility for a secondary title, which he did that perfectly. So when it gets to that point where we run into that issue of what happens after the fact. So but anyway, so back to the match. The match was actually really good. It was kind of slow paced. And at first that would have been a criticism, but I actually think that helped it. Because it gave people time to remember or to discover, depending on how it is, because there were kids in the crowd that were 6-7 years old. These kids had never seen Cody Rhodes in a WWE ring before. So if they've never seen that, it gave them time to rediscover who Cody Rhodes is. And I think that's important.
Yep. I agree. What was next?
I am checking that out right now because my
that felt like the match of the night. I know that Clint says that it was the Becky and Bianca match, and I think there's a case to be made there. I just think that like all the storylines that led into it, it was a compelling moment. That along with the Stone Cold match at the end might be the most memorable moment of WrestleMania. Is the return of the prodigal son.
Oddly enough, the return of two prodigal sons happened that night, and but the real prodigal son was at the end of the night. And you know what? For being essentially in an actual or another retirement match, that was a very good send off for him. It was done very well. So anyway, shortly after the actually, so right after that, you know what? We're just going to breeze right through it. It was Charlotte and Rousey. We've talked about this already tonight. You had a match that wasn't horrible, but there was a couple of big botches in it that really led to it being bad. And Ronda Rousey's just not a good professional wrestler. She has the physical skills to translate to it. She doesn't have the charisma, and I don't think she really gives a shit about transitioning to it. So that's about all I can do for that.
The rumors leading up to that, by the way, were weird. I'm guessing you saw
super weird
about her storming out on SmackDown or around SmackDown,
the Hall of Fame show.
About her finding out after the fact that she thought that she was going to be main eventing WrestleMania, and then found out that no, it's going to be Austin. Which, if you're surprised that close to WrestleMania that Austin is main eventing WrestleMania, you just weren't paying attention.
No,
right? Like
either A, you weren't paying attention, or B, he literally hadn't committed until then. Like he hadn't made that commitment until that Friday or that Monday or whatever it was, that he was definitely down to do that.
Which in that case, she would be within her right. If that decision hadn't been made until say Friday morning, and like up to that point, the rumor was like, no, they're just going to do this KO show middle of the show, or as like the penultimate interaction, and then it was going to lead to Rousey and Flair, then fine. I get why she'd be upset, but
the
it
math
never felt
is
like
there.
It was going that way.
The math is there. You have Stone Cold Steve Austin in Dallas, Texas at WrestleMania. I don't know how that is. If there's any inkling that he's going to get physical, that's not going to cap off the night or the night. It's either going to start the night or cap off the night. And I think it had to cap off the night, because if you started the night, everything would have been a down note from there. Even if everything else was great, it would have been a down note from there. You send the crowd home happy on night one, and they did the perfect job on it. First off, kudos to Steve for taking 3 suplex bumps, none of them in the ring. Absolutely beautiful.
The one in the crowd where it looked like his head was going to hit the channel, like the hard channel for the wires to go underneath.
Yeah.
That was bad. That was like 2 inches away from, I don't know what that match ends up looking like, but that gets you a lot of pissed off fans, because one, they probably have to end the match around there and maybe even out of the ring. And two, you have a lot of pissed off people who say, why couldn't you take better care of him? Why are you leaving the ring there? Why wouldn't you have just done that on the mats? Did you get the feeling that, like, I think it was once they got into the crowd and Austin I think it was after Austin took that hit, that like old Austin kind of came back.
Oh yeah.
Kind of came out. it loosened him up. There are some guys like in the NFL, right, who say they need to get hit first before they really feel like they're locked into the game. And it kind of felt like that with Austin, I thought.
So there was a spot. So when they first went over the barricade and he was kind of chasing him through, he takes that bump, that first suplex, and it was brutal. It was just brutal. And I don't know what happened, but something, you're right. There was a spark that hit, like it just clicked, and he went, "Oh shit, I'm back in it." And maybe that's all. Maybe that's what he needed. Obviously, the second night when he came out for night 2 and during the Vince McAfee thing, he was clearly looser. Now, whether he'd had a couple of brewskis beforehand, something like that, but I think there was a sense of a guy who, he's not a very he's I don't he's not I don't know, he's never been a very emotional in regards to how he feels about things. I think he was afraid of how this was going to go because of how his send-off was. His initial send-off was good. It was good. Yeah. He was done. He was content with himself. And I think he was afraid that this was going to tarnish it. And then as he started to kind of progress through the match, he realized, okay, no, we're just going to have fun with it. Owens is out here. He's going to do whatever we need to do. And we had a buddy over here that made a good point. He was like, you know what? What if this is what Vince promised Owens to get him to resign? This match right here. Because for Kevin Owens, you got your ass kicked at WrestleMania by Steve Austin. That's the highlight of your career at this point. Not winning the Universal title, not anything else that you've done. You got a WrestleMania match in Texas with Stone Cold for his last
resign, right?
Yeah.
And we spent how much time trying to dissect why would Kevin Owens have come back to WWE? He was getting downplayed. He was like a mid-card-ish guy with the occasional pop-up to be a credible challenger for, a number 1 contender match, but like realistically never felt like he was going to be much more than that. And he comes back and you just kind of go, I don't understand. Like why, unless they backed up the Brinks truck, which also doesn't make a ton of sense because you've never pushed him as a number 1 guy. Really, I mean, yes, Universal title, but then he got squashed by Goldberg. So It's not even like you gave him a long title run, right? So, I mean, there is a like when you look at this logically, it's very
the only
clear
thing that makes sense.
That this was the selling point. Yes, the money obviously very big, but you have to believe that there was something pitched of you're going to work with Austin. And if you're going to work with him, it's going to be in Dallas at WrestleMania. There is nobody on this earth who was born anywhere around the time that we were, or that Kevin Owens was, that would have gone anywhere else in the world, any other promotion, any other company. When you have the option to potentially have Steve Austin's last match, which had been a distinction given to The Rock, you can be his last match. You can't turn that down.
No.
You can't. No. Creative is one thing. He'll have more, like, I don't know how long the contract is. Maybe 3 years. Who knows?
It's usually 3 to 4 years is what they've been giving him. 3 to 4 years, look, 2 or 3 mil a year. That's about all it is.
Maybe they cut him in 16 months or something, right? But you got to have this iconic moment. I forget who it was. Somebody on Twitter said something like CM Punk is probably jealous because Kevin Owens is out there living his WrestleMania dream. And CM Punk clarified that there was like a whole backstory thing that was like a false story that's like taken on legs or something. But like, there are not many people who can say they main evented WrestleMania with Stone Cold. And like, yes, it's not the same Stone Cold. We get it. But like, let's just take a moment here to appreciate the fact that in the year 2022, we have gotten a chance to watch Sting jump off of a like balcony through tables, right? We've watched Sting in multiple matches. And then at the same time, we got to see Stone Cold Steve Austin go out there and have one more match. Yes, it's a caricature of a match. Yes, he has the ATV and he's taking it up on the stage. And yes, he's drinking beers in the middle of the match. But he's also taking legitimate bumps. You cannot you can't fake landing on the stage. You can't fake landing on concrete out in the fans.
Not a chance.
That was far better than I think anybody could have expected that match to be.
There was one spot, and the only thing that Stone Cold did not do in that match that he normally did, and I completely understand it, was the Lou Thez press off the ropes.
Yep.
That's the only thing he did. And they did the right thing by taking it out into the crowd because it worked a style that is better for guys that are beat up. I don't even want to say old guys because there's young guys that can't do it either. But it worked that style. You work the control the pace of the match. The guys aren't getting tired. It's not high octane. But man, when he got on that quad and rode Owens up the ramp, there was a smirk on his face, and he was just like, you could tell for a dude that literally was able to walk away, and say, I'm done. I don't need to be here training people. I don't need to do this. Like, he did the tough enough thing and shit like that. And, you know, he'd come out and hit a couple of stunners, but he never looked the same. He never looked like the guy that wanted to be there. He looked like the guy that was there for a paycheck. And he did this, and this was great. This is a great send off. It's the best way. I would have done it if I was Owens and I was in his shoes. And you told me that. That's my Kirk Cousins guaranteed money contract. That is my like. Why do you want to go? Like, that's you. They essentially franchise tagged him. They said, "Look, we're going to pay you this much money." He's going to go AEW do the same thing, and they go, "But he looked at them and went, what can you do that AEW can't do for me?" And the answer is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold, yeah. Yeah,
that's it. Simple as that. And you know what? It worked.
Yep.
And night one, honestly, if you took night one, and I know that the world championship match was not in there. If you took night one and you compare it to a plethora of other WrestleManias, I'd put it in the top 10 by itself, because I think it has top 10. I'm not going to say it's high up on there. But I think top 10 by itself. You add in night two, I still think it's top 10. I think it's lower I think it's on the bottom scale of that. I think it's like in that bottom 7 to 10 range. But I think in the way of enjoyability, and for as much criticism that WWE has received in regards to their product, they did a very good job at maintaining what they did, which leads us to night two and how night two kicked off basically with another end of an era type deal with Triple H leaving his boots in the ring. Once again, same guy that makes the comment, same friend of ours that made the comment about Austin and Owens, and that's his contract. Triple H said his words, and he looked at the thing and he said, "That's it. Say no more. Just walk out of the ring." And for a guy who continually talks and loves to talk, Triple H did the right thing and didn't talk after he set those boots down.
You know what the shame is, though? I get why they did it, but him coming out to greet Ciampa at the end of Ciampa's match that same weekend, I think kind of took some of the wind out of the sails on this one, because independent of each other, if Ciampa's last match is a month from now or 2 months from now, his last match under the NXT brand is then, and Triple H comes out, it's a great moment, right? Because then you still get all the feels about the black and gold brand. But I think that undermined the importance of what Triple H did with the boots, right? Because you're starting the night, which is great, right? And like, it is a good iconic moment, and like, it is definitive. And like the Stephen A. Smith interview is definitive. The man is not coming back. He's got a defibrillator in his chest. He's not going to wrestle again. But the pop that he got, while loud and ridiculous and great, I think that it probably strikes a different chord if he hadn't come out, the day before, 2 days before. I don't know.
Yeah, it's you knew it was going to happen. The timing of everything, you knew you were going to get something like that. And oddly enough, it kind of rolled into the next thing pretty well, only because Randy was involved in it. And Randy and Triple H have been tied so closely. So we rolled into the Raw Tag Team match, which was RK Bro versus the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy. The match on a whole was nothing really super duper special. Montez Ford is an absolute athlete. We were talking about this. There is not a more athletic couple than Montez Ford and Bianca Belair. Those two are absolutely amazing on a pure like sports level. Those two are phenomenal. He gets air like nobody else does off of jumps and leaps and stuff like that. Plus, the man's got charisma for days. He just oozes charisma. If he was, I want to say this nicely because I know the difference on Kofi, but if he was built slightly differently, if he was a little bit broader shouldered, had a little bit more weight on him, world championship material.
Yep.
I just don't think he'll ever get there. I do think that there is a singles title run in his future with an IC title. And I think there's a lot of good opportunities with that. I just don't see this. The Street Profits isn't going to have a good end to it. That's the problem. I think that Dawkins is just going to quietly get written off of TV. And honestly, yeah, there's this weird, like, I have this weird feeling, and I hate thinking about people getting injured, but I feel like if Dawkins gets injured, that's the end of the Street Profits.
Wow. That's
I
a
think-
gutsy, ballsy take.
I don't like that take either. I don't like it. Just clarify. I hate thinking about people getting injured. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to wish it on anybody. But I feel like they're looking for some reason to get Montez on his own, and they need it, but it doesn't make sense to do it right now while you don't have enough tag teams to run your division.
Yeah.
So Alpha Academy's out there.
If you did see a unification, like this comes back to the whole like unify the women's belts, you've unified the men's belts, you know, quote unquote, at least for a short time. If you were to unify the tag team belts, then yeah, that would free up some guys for singles runs. But then you almost have the inverse problem, right? Because if you've unified the singles titles, then having the tag team division, you know, potentially having some splits off where you've got like RK Bro breaking up and them pursuing, like there are only so many stories that you can tell when there's only one belt to tell. That's part of the problem that even like AEW has, right? Like there are only so many things that can happen at once. Otherwise, you just have a lot of guys that are just kind of treading water.
And that's where Ring of Honor comes into play at now.
Yeah.
If you play it right. So anyway, basically Chad Gable comes out. I absolutely love the Chad Gable character. Shush. Beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. The dude is a fucking unit. Otis looks like just a creative character that your cousin from Kentucky made. And I enjoyed it. I had fun. It wasn't the best match in the world, no, but you know what? It was good as a Kickstarter for night 2. It, after kind of a somber moment with Triple H, it moved into it was pretty fast paced and it got everything going. But it did lead into a really cool thing at the end. Everybody's in the ring sharing cups. And they called Gable Stevenson into the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to mess that up so many
Everybody
times.
is. They should just change it.
It just needs to be Gable. Just make him Gable. Change Chad's name to Chad or
Shorty G.
Shussy G, as we were calling him. Shushy G. Shussy. It doesn't matter. That's what we were calling him. So just change
Turn
it.
Gable. Make Gable Stevenson into Gamble. Just Gamble.
Yeah,
one word.
Something.
It's close enough to Gable. Gamble.
Yeah,
he comes out. He comes out with the.
I love his tattoos that say "Humble Beast" on them. I hope they use that as his tag, as his name, as like his thing, because it already says it. It writes its own.
That guy, I know that he's had to follow a certain code as an amateur wrestler, but he's gonna have to start following the old school pro wrestler thing. That guy's got he might need a couple injections. If you know what I'm saying. Because he does not look the part right now. Especially, that's the problem when you run up a guy against somebody like Chad Gable. He looks like such a specimen, right? Like you're going, all right, Olympic gold medalist. When Kurt Angle came in, even young Kurt Angle, he looked more the part. Gable Stevenson to me does not look he doesn't look like even amateur wrestlers that, like, I think if we pulled up,
right, he doesn't look like that the Greco-Roman statues.
Yeah,
he
looks like a strong guy.
Marbled.
Yeah, he looks like a strong guy, but he doesn't look that same kind of aesthetic. You know,
no, there's some.
Remember the game Legends of Wrestling? Legends of Wrestling, how everybody was just like the big caricature. Like Gable Stevenson doesn't look like that guy, but I wouldn't want to fight him. I'd be petrified to fight him.
So one time I went to go get in touch with a guy to work an event, right? And the guy asked me a question. He goes, "Do you have abs?" And I said, "Not on your fucking life." And he goes, "Wear a singlet." And I said, "Okay." And I never bought a singlet, and I never went and worked for the guy because I didn't kind of really like his attitude. But whatever, it doesn't matter. So he said, "Wear a singlet." Gable Stevenson has to wear a singlet for right now. He needs the Kurt Angle singlet, the skinny one, and it comes up, and he needs the thing. So as he grows, you can see that he's adjusting and he's becoming that. I think after he's actually involved in it, because we think he's 3 weeks removed from a national championship, so he's still in amateur wrestling mode. The dude's good. feel like he's going to be money. You've had 2 other people move into that role in kind of a similar aspect, and you've got Chad Gable, who the only reason he's not that way is because he's not the super heavyweight or the heavyweight guy.
Yeah.
That's it.
If he's 4 inches taller,
Chad Gable is money. Money on the mic, money in the ring. The dude just does not have the height.
I can't believe they buried him like they did for so long, but it's good to see him shine. This is where you come back to, like, you separate the character from the human being, and you just have to feel good, right? And they leaned into a real life friendship with him and Otis, and like that feels good. Just feels right.
Clint, you want to give us your opinions on Bobby Lashley and Omos? I fucking love that you showed back up for this, because this is the perfect one for you to just get some steam out.
This is really simple. It went 5 minutes too long. Bobby should have squashed him in a minute and a half. Although I'm in agreement with Kevin after this weekend. The spear needs to be relegated to one wrestler, and everyone else needs to stop doing it. Because I feel like you could have made a drinking game out of how many spears were thrown in both nights of WrestleMania.
It feels like the super kick in AEW, right?
Yeah,
like
it's the spear is the super kick.
God damn, Edge's new entrance is awesome. Anyway,
yeah,
back to
he's got like some of the good Ministry of Darkness vibes going, and it. You want to talk about, like, again, the character and the human being. He's now taken up like the Gangrel role is what it feels like we're heading to. Maybe a little bit like a Malachi Black, but like you can get behind this. You can get behind this really well.
He feels infinitely more dangerous than Gangrel did at that point too.
Well, he also looks the part.
Well, yeah, I know. Anyway, so once again, Clint, glad you're back for this, because after this match, if you can call it that, we had another match that was, if you can call it that, a match. Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville, and possibly one of the better gimmick matches that has graced pay-per-view television, premium live event television in quite some time.
All right, so let me take this one. For those who don't know, my cat died on Friday. So I just needed some fun this weekend. Hung out with my friends. And the most fun I had watching WrestleMania over both nights was Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn. That might be in contention for one of my favorite matches of all time. That's not a joke. That's just because for the time and circumstances that I was going through, that match made me laugh. I was fucking falling over. I jumped out of my fucking seat when Wee Man picked up Sami for that scoop slam. Fuck Hogan and Andre. That's the new one we need for like WrestleMania billboards, is Wee Man scoop slamming him.
Next week, can we get that as our background?
Absolutely, because like for the life of me, I can't tell you why I love this match so much, but this to me is like, when it comes to like celebrity involvement and like gimmick matches, this was a DDT Pro gimmick match at WrestleMania. I couldn't have loved it anymore. Johnny Knoxville gets the win by bringing out a comedically large mousetrap. Thank God he has an engineering degree in mousetraps to get that thing to go off, because it pinned Sami 1, 2, 3. It was exactly what I needed. To me, that's the Clinton Davis 5-star match of the weekend, if I'm being honest with you.
My 2 favorite parts of this entire match are, one, Colin absolutely losing his fucking mind at the fact that Pontius was wearing like jeans, denim fucking. I know they weren't real denim; it was just screen print, but like denim fucking tighties. And then my other favorite part was Wee Man getting haluva kicked just because he fucking ate it.
Everyone got fucking sandbagged in this match. If you were a Jackass member, you were taking everything as stiff as it is.
One of the smartest things that Steve-O did was going nowhere near this.
Mm-hmm.
That's what made this so smart, though, right? Like, you think about how so many guys are afraid to take the bad bump or to take that next level bump, and like Darby's like the shoot himself through the ropes, and like you just hope that someday he doesn't hit his head on something, like break his neck. You're constantly just kind of shaking, like I want this guy to be okay. But then like with the Jackass crew, you don't necessarily feel that, because you're like, well, these guys do this, right? Like they're just used to getting rocked and being okay. And so you actually do get to kind of suspend that fear for them. And then at the same time, you're like, yeah, they're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah.
They're goofy enough and they make money getting themselves in positions where they get hurt. So there's like some kind of fun, odd believability thing. It's almost if you let fans come into the ring to fight Sami Zayn, right? And Sami Zayn decided, like, all right, somebody just came into the ring that doesn't belong here. I'm going to kick his ass. It's that, except these people willingly signed up to get their asses kicked. It's kind of nice.
There's a quote. So on CBS Sports actually does a really good write-up of almost every WWE and AEW event. The guy that writes from him, his name is Brent Brookhouse. So he has, and I'm just going to share this very quick quote about this match. It says, "I don't know what to say about this match. It was basically a Looney Tunes cartoon in the form of a wrestling match. Some of the gimmicks didn't work, but that didn't really matter. As pure entertainment, the match was a complete success. Johnny Knoxville defeats Sami Zayn via pinfall, grade A-." And I think that's the best thing to sum it up. It was a human Looney Tunes match.
It was a Tom and Jerry match.
Yeah.
If Tom and Jerry had a wrestling match, it would have been that. And it was fun. It was dumb. Is it going to be a 5-star classic? Absolutely not. Anyone who went to this match expecting grandiose wrestling maneuvers and not, jackass material. Like the one thing we talked about was like, exactly, we weren't worried about anyone's health during this match because we've seen Johnny Knoxville get gored by a fucking bull.
Yep.
He's fine in the ring with Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn, one of the most notoriously safe workers in the world.
And it's like the way that we're with Logan Paul, you have that like this guy trained and is really athletic and like can absolutely make it. Johnny Knoxville is not supposed to be that guy. And even if he tried, I don't think he doesn't have the physical athletic talents to do it. So then hell, just take the bumps and make it look good, or don't make it look good and just make it look real because it is. It works.
To go back on what you guys said about Kevin Owens, yeah, this is definitely going to be the biggest moment of his life. Him and Sami Zayn come out of this pay-per-view looking amazing. They both do. Because they both made these two moments that shouldn't have work so goddamn well. Get that. Let Sami have a long IC title run. It's not going to go anywhere with fucking Ricochet. It's not.
Is it bad that I don't care about the IC title anymore? Like I don't.
They make
not
it
right
hard
now.
to.
You gotta give me a reason. Ricochet's a guy that needs to get the fuck out. He's one of those guys that needs to leave.
Mm-hmm.
He just is.
But what it almost feels though at this point, where's he gonna go?
New Japan. That's the only place he can go. He needs to leave.
Yeah.
He needs to be visible from a distance.
Yeah, I was gonna say because early AEW he would have fit great, but there are so many guys who do a similar style to what he does that it won't make him feel special comparatively.
I need
and
that
WWE
crossover.
clearly is not interested in booking him in matches to let him do the style that differentiates him from everybody else. And it's a shame because he should be that guy. And this is all to go without saying, but like Finn Balor should have also been part of WrestleMania weekend and is nowhere to be found. Like he shows up on Raw, teams up with RK Bro, and you're like, I'm sorry, that's right, you have a belt, and you weren't good enough to be on either night. I'm supposed to believe that. I don't, but like I'm supposed to believe that you weren't good enough over 2 nights to get on. That rubs me the wrong way. This isn't a title that's named after one of the networks. The 2 titles left off the card. 2 really good champions.
So
not seen.
Finn,
not okay.
I actually think oddly enough fits into this whole Edge Damian Priest thing. He would be a very good addition if he didn't already have the backstory of being a Universal Champion at one time.
Yep.
If they hadn't had I don't want to say mishandled it because he did torn labrum. Nothing they can't plan for that. But they did mishandle everything after the fact because he would be a guy that would fit really good in this. Somebody who doesn't need to talk, but has absolutely all the in-ring skills in the world and could benefit from rubbing shoulders with Edge, even just for a little bit. And maybe he's going to be a good opposition to these guys, but that's all I have for that. After the Sami Zayn Knoxville match, we'll call it a match. Why not? We go into the women's tag team championship match, which we talked about earlier in the show. So we're not going to bring up how we're going to bring that up.
I'm so horny for Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan.
Okay. Apparently we're going to bring that up. Rhea is
Step
heads
on
and
me.
tails.
Spit on me. I don't care. There we go.
Rhea is heads and tails the absolutely most impressive person in this match. Is she the most talented in this match? I could make a case that Sasha is more talented than Rhea is, but Rhea is the most impressive person in this match. And it's because she's just bigger than the other people and stronger and more legitimate looking than everybody else. And that's why she was the one to start it. And she saw action with everybody on it. It was just completely action packed, which is very rare for a women's tag team match. And I thought it did really well to bring the wrestling back into this after the Sami Zayn match. It was not the most fluid match in the world, and it was not the most polished match in the world, which is really hard to do when you have 4 different teams in there. But at the end of the day, Sasha and Naomi won the titles. Sasha gets her first win at WrestleMania and her first title win at WrestleMania on both of them. And Naomi actually, I think, gets her 3rd title win at WrestleMania. Second title win, but I think it's her 3rd win overall. So good match. Nothing great, nothing to write home about. But that moves into what I thought was going to be the match of the night. And honestly, was good, but it left a lot to be desired. And I'm sorry if I'm stopping everybody from talking about that, but Edge and AJ Styles. I feel like there was an appropriate build up to this, but it just didn't quite deliver. And now looking at my TV, it looks like that's why it didn't quite deliver, because it's going to continue. Thoughts on this, gentlemen?
Yeah, I thought for having the longest match at WrestleMania weekend at 25 pissing minutes, I thought the match was good. It never really kicked into 3rd gear for me. And the finish did, for going 25 minutes, the finish felt like it came out of nowhere. Which is something I really didn't want to say about this match. Like, I had high expectations, but now knowing it's the setup match, which I hate when they use WrestleMania as a setup platform to continue the feud. I think WrestleMania is going to die.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's all we can say about it, because now it's kind of ruined.
Yeah, but saying it's like the worst, it's a 3 out of 5 match, and that's something I didn't want to say about this match. AJ Styles and Edge at WrestleMania should be stealing the fucking weekend, but it didn't. It was mediocre, and it's upsetting, especially being the longest match of the weekend.
Yep. Sometimes having the most time does not mean like it's not going to live up to it. Sometimes it is better to get your shit in a little bit quicker.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you would have told them, hey, you guys have 16 minutes, go out there and do this, they would have paced it a little bit differently, and you would have been more impactful in the long run.
Okay,
it's this grade gave it a B. I would have given it like a C+.
So
letter grades.
So Edge and Damian Priest just did their new tag team finisher, which is a spear and a leg sweep.
That made no contact.
Yeah, it made no contact. But when it will make contact, it'll be great. Who do you have keep the spear? Edge or Roman?
Edge. Roman needs a different finisher. Roman has.
I love the guillotine.
I do too. He's got the Superman punch, which I know is a signature if you play WWE 2K22, but he needs a different finisher. They've moved him away. They're trying to move him so far away from the Shield character. Give him a different finisher. Mm-hmm. He doesn't need to do the powerbomb, and he doesn't need to do the spear. He's a guy that can adapt to something else. You know what? Fuck it. Give him the rock bottom. Give him the rock bottom. You want to set that feud up so bad. If you can serve it, have him start doing it.
If they didn't,
and not in the same fashion.
Give him the Razor's Edge. Call it the Roman's Edge.
That's fine.
Pretty sure they just gave that to Damian Priest.
That's a heat magnet, baby.
Or end of
as
the
Chris
reign.
Jericho, as Chris Jericho would say, that is entertainment.
What catchphrase? We'll talk about that next week. We're gonna have to talk. I've got about 5 minutes of thoughts on Chris Jericho's new character, and I love it. But I'm gonna save that. Because I need another week of it. It's only been 2 weeks. I don't have enough content for it. So then after that match, we had what would be considered a palate cleanser, and I'm just really fucking irritated this match even took place. That's the New Day Ridge and Sheamus and Ridge Holland match
versus the New Day.
Yeah, I don't think it needed to happen. And look, man,
Biggie just had his neck broken, and you're gonna give the New Day a minute and 44. You're gonna give them 104 seconds at WrestleMania.
It's not even that. I don't really. No offense. I get it. It sucks, and it would have been cool for Big E for them to do a little bit more. Personally, I would rather have you save that match for tonight. Dude, Pete Dunne was such an effective wrestler in every other level of any kind of WWE owned program that you put him on. And now he just doesn't look like that. He looks like a dude who's got rabies and he's just trying to bite people. And I don't like that. I don't like that.
No, Butch. No. We told you not to bite him anymore. You're gonna get him sick, lad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd like to apologize. Dude, it's like a scene out of So I Married an Axe Murderer. That's all I can think about this.
I love that movie so much.
It is.
Right,
my boy, Heed. You look at the fucking size of his Heed.
What if Butch starts like biting everybody and then like the way that they denote, instead of it being like Malachi having everybody have the eye patch, like what if he just gave everybody that little hat, right? Like you got butched. And so now you have to show up to
like this
Raw.
hat?
Yeah. Yeah. You get is that a bowler hat? No, it's not a bowler. I forget what that hat's called.
It's a Sami Zayn hat.
So hold on. What if you did this? And I know this is stupid, but Vince loves gimmicky shit. So if he's got my computer tapped, which he probably doesn't, but he might have Russ's, put the fucking Hannibal Lecter bar face mask on him. If he's going to keep biting people, make him come to the ring with that on. And they only remove it when he's in the ring.
Get him, Butch. Go
and then they have to like put it back on him and like restrain him back out of there. Sheamus would be the only person that would be like look legitimate carrying the man out of there. But if you're gonna ruin Pete Dunne, ruin him all the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has one of the coolest fucking names, the Bruiserweight.
I hate it. I hate Butch so much. It's my least favorite thing.
Anyway,
you know what was even worse than that? You know what was even worse than that?
What's that?
What came after Pat McAfee and Austin Theory, which was Pat McAfee and Vince McMahon, because we could just skip over the Austin Theory bit.
Pat won.
Pat won. It was a fun match. It was
the best celebrity match of the weekend.
That's Johnny Knoxville.
For our audio only listeners, Russ is suggestively winking at the camera.
I would say it's suggestive.
Nope, totally suggestive. Totally suggestive. Gotta be.
Oh, you said you wanted to.
So let me preference this by saying when we were watching this match, Pat McAfee initially won. I was like, you know what? Start Pat McAfee up on the WrestleMania streak. Have him wrestle twice a Mania or whatever. Have him wrestle on both nights. Get to a 10. Get to like 21-0 faster than Undertaker did. And shit like that. Just have fun with it. And then he signals to Vince McMahon for another match. I'm just like, no, they're not gonna actually do it. And my God, they jobbed him out in 3 minutes, 4 minutes. They jobbed his ass out.
They did, but two great things came from this. One, Byron Saxton getting hit with a stunner, sold it beautifully, and I thought
Austin Theory. I
thought the Byron Saxton was going to be the sell of the night on the stunner. Honestly, did. Until Austin Theory straight Dwayne Johnson himself into stunner like lore, because he was vertical above the top rope with how he sold that, and it was beautiful.
It was like he was a Looney Tunes character.
It was like bringing Austin back just to land a few more stunners that would go down as memorable, like top 10 compilation on WWE's YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
It made it all worth
unfortunately. Sorry. Go.
A number one of all time and a number one all time worst. Both in the same night. Although me personally, My soft spot's always going to be the Scott Hall stunner for
Yes.
WrestleMania 18. That's the best one of all time. I personally think the Rocks are overrated. I think he oversells them. If we're talking Attitude Era best sell of the stunner, it's Kurt Angle.
That's fair.
Because Kurt Angle just popped up and fell right over.
That's the problem with the Rocks, is how the Rock would land
He would
towards his
push
back,
himself
and
up.
he would push himself back up and over.
I did really enjoy Pat's though. Pat's had a genuineness to it.
It was the spitting of the water. It was like he almost struck the Triple H pose in the aftermath of the.
And Pat drinking the beer on the outside of the ring as he's just lying there, just that was pretty good. Pat's a treasure, and we should protect him at all costs.
I was gonna do it, but I really have hardwood floors, and I really don't want to clean beer off of them tonight. So
Austin drank about 47 beers between 2 nights. Excuse me, he opened 47 and drank about 3.
Yep. And that brings us to, after this beautiful segment, and really good throwback to Steve Austin being there both nights of WrestleMania, which was a fun surprise. The final match and the presumed main event of the evening. So it was Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, both champions, and one of the ways these guys were going to walk out with the belts. Both of them were, something's going to fucking happen, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. So Lesnar did a really interesting thing where he took his gloves off at the beginning of the match, which I thought was kind of cool because it was like an added little bit that he didn't do, which, by the way, Cowboy Brock, fucking awesome. Love it. He's been his best character. And I really like that he did the Paul Heyman intro for himself. Grabbed the mic, did all that. It's little character bits that Brock has missed over the entirety of his career that he's never done himself that have come to light during this run that have been really good. And it's what's made this run not feel like your typical, Brock Lesnar's back winning the title. It's been good.
That's almost what makes it unfortunate, though, that he's lost now twice to Roman.
I agree.
Because the unfortunate thing here is that Roman got injured in this match.
Yeah. I don't want to see an injury here, but I think had this injury occurred slightly closer to because I feel like there was about 2.5 minutes left of what was supposed to happen.
It felt like it was missing its final third.
If something else, that had happened earlier in the match, I feel like Brock actually might have won. I feel like Roman might have called it on the fly for him to win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know Trevor did this before, but like for the people who are watching, that's not what that's supposed to look like.
No.
That Kimura lock was in deep.
Like that's what it's supposed to look like. And then that looks like there was another joint added in the middle of his arm. He's not supposed to have a second shoulder there, guys.
Yeah, he got fucked up. That Kimura lock was in deep. That was the first thing Kevin said. He was like, that doesn't look good.
But you know what? Big props to Roman for finishing everything out. And so props to Paul Heyman as well. He's on the outside of the ring. Oh, my tribal chief. Oh, you must take care of him. He's almost at full power. If this goes any longer, he's going to continue to get stronger. And I was like, wow, Heyman's really selling this. And then you hear Roman go, it's out. It's out. It's freaking out. And then he gets up and he just yanks the rope and you see him try to pull his shoulder back in as well. And you're like, oh, God, that hurt. So I think they were twofold as to what happened there. But then he hits the spear on that same shoulder. Impressive as it is, I'm just glad that the match got over. And then you saw the double title lift was not a pretty sight. So we're nearing the end of the night here on Raw, and we still have not heard from Roman Reigns. So I think that's going to be the closing of the show. And we're going to learn a little bit about it. But anyway, so yeah, that's the end of WrestleMania 38. Overall, I think it's a pretty good WrestleMania.
Yeah. However, my favorite match of the weekend was FTR and the Briscoes from Ring of Honor. That match humped real fucking hard. And you should really make a play to get the Briscoes on AEW.
You should really watch AEW Dynamite this week, which we unfortunately won't be here to review because the Young Bucks are facing FTR for the AAA and the Ring of Honor titles, which is quite an interesting turn of events. So,
isn't it just the AAA?
AAA
nope,
and
it's
Ring
both.
of Honor titles.
They said both?
Yep.
If FTR lose, I might have to just join Cody on Monday Night Raw.
I don't think FTR is losing that.
Well, the next time we're going to see both of you is you both are going to be competing against one another.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Next Wednesday is the 4-Post Massacre 2 Electric Boogaloo.
You ready to see your boy hold a title on his shoulder? Because I am a sycophant for mid-2000s TNA wrestling. Amazing Red, I'm coming for you. We got King of the Mountain stats. We got 6-sided rings. We got Scott Steiner doing shitty math, but it's right.
You guys have no idea what's coming in this quiz because absolutely none of that is on it.
I don't care. I'm
Oh
full
yeah! Let me tell you something.
black.
I'm gonna make an
machismo.
impact. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my favorite TNA promo. Jeff Hardy.
You know what? Okay, so real quick, one of my absolute favorite things of TNA of all of that entire time was the fact that the LAX had their own entrance and their own announce team within the entrance area, and they did the absolute best to try to cholo it up. And nobody went, you know what? Maybe that's a little wrong. They're like, no, everybody just bought into it and they just accepted it because you had the 2 tunnel system going on, the heels, the faces, and then LAX is entering through the parking lot. They did their own thing. It was beautiful. You know, Homicide, Conan, Hernandez, everything. LAX is one of my favorite parts of the OG TNA.
Also, watch Stand and Deliver. Stand and Deliver was really good. That ladder match, that should have been the Scott Hall Memorial ladder match.
Grayson Waller needs to not do dumb shit like that. That's the spot that pissed me off over the weekend because they did not set it up right. Carmelo Hayes was not on the ladder long enough for Grayson Waller to do that spot. He literally went down to preload for that jump, and Carmelo Hayes got pulled off the ladder before he even jumped.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just fucked his arm all the way up. Which is sad because I like Grayson Waller. I think the dude is the future NXT champion.
Yeah, but Cameron Grimes being the NXT North American champion feels right.
To the moon.
We're going to sign off from there, guys. We all appreciate you guys joining us today.
Russ, thank you for joining us today. Trevor, we know you had to step out earlier. Thank you for joining us as well.
I appreciate you two taking over when I needed to dip out for a minute. But
That's what we're here for.
But-
We're you know, it's like a happy little family here.
we are also
You know what we are?
a Buff Bagwell approved podcast.
And you know what we are? We're on a forklift. We love you, Judy.
We love you, Judy. Peace out.